Did you know that 90% of the world's millionaires invest in real estate? Well, I'm Angel with the Academy Presents Real Estate Investing Rocks, and I'm here to help you if you want to go for your piece of that pie. With networking being such an integral part of this space, you got to have something.
Yeah. Yes.
Just something.
Yes.
But then if you're strength with Excel sheets, then by all means, learn how to say hello and shake a hand and then go sit in your Excel sheet. Or team up with somebody. I mean, that's the thing with me and Jason is like, I can go somewhere and network and get into a group and then pull him in.
Yes.
And so like, I'll find something, like I'll be talking to people and I'm trying to relate to them, but then I'm also trying to get them I'm trying to find something that will relate them to my husband too. So that when I pull him in, I've already got that relation, that relatability there, and he just has to play to it.
Yeah. And sometimes that looks like just being able to like know what each other's strengths and weaknesses are. Whomever is like the more, I guess, outgoing can like open up the conversation and work to get to know that other party and find out what they're struggling with. Maybe it's underwriting a deal. Boom. Enter scene Jason. And now he can do his thing, right? Because he's the numbers guy and he's the analysis guy and so on and so forth. So it's a little bit of common sense.
I mean, like, I feel like I know Jason is amazing with numbers. Beyond a shadow of a doubt. I think he could probably put just about anybody to shame, even though he's never really underwritten a deal.
Yeah.
But he created an entire Excel sheet that anytime we're looking at a deal, he just plugs our stuff in and decides whether it's good or bad.
Can I get that?
He's working on getting it perfected to where basically it works for any deal, because we
I need that.
We use it on single families. And the funny thing is on single families is I'm very comfortable in the single family home space. I can walk into a home, look at the home, and I don't even have to do a lot of due diligence. I don't have to know about the plumbing or any of that, but I can look at the tax value. I can look at what they're asking on it. And I can me and Jason, between the two of us, can come up with something to get back on an offer price. And it's never backfired on us. It's worked really well for us. But when we were at a meetup and there was a realtor there that was talking about all of these different properties she had. And we walked up to her afterwards. I'm like, so are all these the same owner? And she's like, yeah. I'm like, well, can we buy all of them? Can we go ahead and put it out there that we'll buy all of them, but can you not list them on Monday? Because they were going to be listed on Monday. So they were still pocket listings at that point. And we got to go look at them and everything. And Jason was able to take that portfolio and put it into his Excel sheet and figure out whether or not it would work. And then the other thing we were doing is we were taking two other investment properties we have here, pushing them into the commercial loan space. So then the commercial bank or the commercial portion of the bank would own the loans on those two homes. Then we could pull an equity line of credit out of those to purchase the portfolio. So absolutely zero out of pocket. Yeah. So,
yeah, that is some
Excel
ninja
sheet
stuff.
is massive. But the other thing he did within that Excel sheet is he said, okay, once we do this, we're no longer going to be 1% on these two houses because they appraised for more than what we got them for. So like one of the houses was appraising at like 145 and we negotiated down to like 93 when we bought it a few years ago.
Man, so you came with some great equity out the gates. Huge.
But
there you go.
That's that single family home. That's my comfort zone.
Yeah. Well, obviously it's great to have your comfort zone, but it sounds like you're getting a little too comfortable. Well, maybe it's time for a multifamily deal.
And we got a realtor here, a broker that he'll do whatever we ask. Like if we say, they're asking 301,000, great, 225. And he'll offer it. He's like, I'll do whatever you want. And he's never balked at the fact that, that I make decisions too. Mm-hmm. He's always been really awesome. So, and he's older, late 60s, probably.
Yeah.
And, but he also has a daughter. And I think that, but then my grandfather had a daughter too. I don't know how to extrapolate that. But I was thinking a lot of men that have daughters don't want them to be weak. They want them to be strong and independent women. Maybe they were raised by a single mother, or I think it would depend on the situation they came from as to how they raise their children and the ideas they put in their upbringing. But
Yeah.
I sidestepped. Sorry.
You're good. You're good.
Having that relationship with him, he's been amazing, helping us get stuff done. And actually, the portfolio now is down to 2 single family homes. But
so you guys have 2 single family and then some passive multifamily?
No, we've got, we're supposed to close this week on that small portfolio. So once we close on that, we'll have 4 single family here. We have a single family in Lubbock. In Waco, we have a quad and 2 duplexes. And then I have a piece of land that I've been trying to build a quad on for like 4 years. So if anybody ever tells you that building ground up is simple, easy, and quick, they are lying. It takes forever.
And then I learned about block issue, what's the issue with the land? I don't know much about land.
Just finding someone that can even build on it.
Yeah.
Because like my hometown is a good old boy system. And so I had a builder, but it was just taking so long that he had another job and then another job. And so I don't know when he's going to be available again. And so then I have another friend that he owns a construction company. He will go build it, but he's an outsider.
And it's the good old boy system.
Yeah. And there's some other things there, because this is going to sound so wrong, but he's a Hispanic male, and I don't know how that's going to go over. I mean, I don't know. I don't see it.
Sounds tough.
But like my grandmother used to tell me, she was like, when I was in La Mesa, my grandmother would tell me, don't ever let them know that you're part Mexican. I said, why? She goes, just don't ever let them know. And what that came from was my grandmother only made it through 8th grade because she would have to go pick cotton during the cotton picking season with her family. And so part of that was in the West Texas area, in La Mesa, in those areas, and she had faced it.
Oh, I see. Yeah, so she was just getting you ready for it. It wasn't your experience, but she kind of planted that seed, even though you had never really encountered it. She's looking
25%.
out. Yeah, that's funny. I had me fooled.
I know I don't look, except for the dark eyes and olive skin tone. But when I was teaching, when I was teaching 8th grade, those kids honed in on it. That were like, Miss, you're 25% Mexican. I'm like, yes, I am. I guess I should have used it. I should have used that. It should have dawned on me that that's what the kids picked out to love about me too, was that I was like them.
Yeah,
maybe it was 25% of me, but part of me was. And so that was a
little bit of dark blood. Yeah.
So that was like a strength to them. And so even though I'm different in the real estate investing space, I should totally, absolutely use that as my strength. More than I do.
Do you think you'd ever go back to schools to teach your old colleagues about real estate investing, or even like, high school students or college students, just about the benefits of real estate investing, given that you have that educational background? Or is your life as a teacher, educator just behind you? I'm just curious.
No, so when you look at our logo is loosely based on Schoolhouse Rock.
No, I had a feeling. I never communicated that, but I had a feeling. Yeah.
So I'm always going to be an educator. I still teach college. I teach college econ.
Okay.
But this is how I'm educating. And I have an idea now, and it's a goal of mine, is I want to reach 2,000 teachers, more than 2,000 teachers, and help them figure out how to get into real estate somehow to build some wiggle room up. Because when you're no longer like financially tied to that paycheck, you become a completely different teacher. You truly teach from your heart and soul. And so I want to offer that to friends. How many of my friends are going to jump on it? I've been told to expect 0. But people that don't know me, that I can reach out to, that know I have been a teacher, and I can help you find some financial freedom, those people will be probably much more receptive.
Yeah. And then you build into this big thing, and then your friends hop on. That's how it almost always goes.
Well, and that's I'm hoping to do like a monthly subscription, like very low cost, like $27 a month. And just Jason and I will help you do what we've done.
Yo, I think that's brilliant. I mean, I'm thinking about doing something similar with my little community, and I think that the allure is just learning from somebody that's kind of like you. You know, we've already touched on this multiple times in this conversation. Like, people are just comfortable, right, with people that they can relate to. And I think for a lot of teachers, they're not necessarily seeing their buddies or people like them go out and take down, you know, $100,000 deals or $1 million deals once you get into multifamily here pretty soon. So that'll be a strong story.
I just I don't know. It's trying to take what I've learned about marketing and
Yeah.
like pushing that, because like it used to be what, 6 touches. It takes 6 touches to get a yes, and so then I'm like, well, it's probably going to take more than that, because I mean, I love my fellow teachers, and maybe I was the anomaly, but I think we can be kind of negative. I think we call it realism when it's really kind of pessimism, and it's just from being just so often it's hard to get into a really good situation in the teaching environment. And I've come from really amazing principals. When I was in La Mesa, I was teaching, I was K-5 music. I had like 1,000 students, and I was on 2 different campuses. And I definitely had a favorite principal, and she knows who she is. We're still Facebook friends. But she turned out to be like she was like a Texas state identified principal or something. She was just amazing and supportive. And I've taught in several schools since, and I've never met another principal that was as amazing as her.
Oh, that's
and
cool.
Yeah, but it makes things tough because it was the second school I'd ever taught at. And so it makes it hard, because I don't know that anyone will ever live up to who and what she was. Then I found out later that the superintendent while I was there was like a nationally recognized superintendent. So I really had an amazing situation, and it was in La Mesa when my grandmother was telling me, don't let people know you're Mexican. And it was just, it turned out to be truly amazing there. And I don't know, it was just, she was very empowering, and you don't come across too many administrators that truly empower their teachers. It's not common, and I've not really found it since. And I think that's probably true maybe just across the board.
Yeah,
you've got a lot of management out there that thinks the only way they can procure a better, bottom line is by micromanaging everything, when the fact of the matter is, when you micromanage, you are absolutely guaranteeing that everybody's going to give you the minimum necessary to make the cut.
Yeah.
So it's
100%. I mean, you are essentially handicapping the people that you work with, right? From all the value that they could potentially bring to that role, into that organization, by just trying to pigeonhole them into count your beans. Yeah. So fortunately, I've not had so much experience with micromanagers. I'm fortunate, but my heart goes out to people that find themselves in that situation, because it's an incredibly disempowering position to have to operate from. It really is. Yeah. And to those people, I say, hey, you could do real estate deals. You could find a way to learn something on the side that could be an exit from that environment, if that's you listening right now.
Yeah, well, and honestly, it's funny that you say that. I had someone reach out to me, basically with her dream, for like a computer program or an app, and she's like, "I'm telling it to you because I don't know anybody else that has the connections." And I was like, "Wow."
Look at that.
And honestly, when we're able to get it going, it has the potential to be, $100 $200 million deal.
It really does. I think you go back to that superintendent that you were just telling me a story about. Sounding like that person had a lot of influence in the educational system. Yeah. And it sounds like you also have like a lot of respect for that individual, and get them on board, help them understand how they can use some of their self-directed retirement funds to do a deal And maybe it starts off that way, you know?
Well, and that's kind of too, that's so funny that you bring that up, because the past two guests that I've had are self-directed retirement account people. Because the guy that lives down the street from me was a fellow teacher. I didn't even know he lived down the street from me, but he was like, oh, well, you know, I'm getting retirement accounts together. I was like, well, you know, you can self-direct those. Like, what do you mean? He's like, no, I want the tax benefits from having these retirement accounts. I'm like, well, you still get the benefits. You just get to decide what vehicle goes on the inside of it. And it was like, he was just like, pew.
Well, I mean, hey, listen, again, it kind of goes back to our reality being what we've been shown. I don't know how much education up until, you know, up until as of recent has been, you know, tailored towards, hey, you can direct this money towards something like a real estate asset, right? Like people just haven't ever been told that. So it's just kind of like, whew. And that's the beautiful thing, right? Like once people like us learn about these things and having these types of conversations, hopefully it, you know, pays it forward by just having that little nugget of information landing on somebody's radar, and they can go do something with that. They can go look that up on Google or whatever, or have a conversation.
Yeah, I don't know if he ever looked it up. I sent it to his personal email, and I said, you know, there's a backlog. I don't know how long it's going to be, but those 2 episodes I did for you.
Yeah.
Those are for you. So when they get ready, I will let you know. Or if you want, I said, I'll even send you the raw recording. If you just want to if you just want to hear it, I'll send it to you now, because I did those with you in mind. And I don't think he expected that, because we weren't that close when we were teaching together. I kind of had a different opinion of him when we were teaching together, but John, if you're listening, sorry. Actually, it was more that I don't think we ever had an opportunity to really talk. But it was just, I don't know if he'll ever look at it, but it was really neat to be able to share that.
You should just, you know, whenever the episode is done, maybe just send him an email with it. Yeah. Just say, hey, FYI, you can only lead the horse to the water, right? You can't force it to drink.
No, you can't. But I understand the need of the want of the IRA or whatever. And see, as a teacher, it's not even, we don't get a 401k, we get a 403b.
Okay.
I don't even really know what that means. But it's a different kind of account. So I'm not even really sure how you roll those like into something that you can self-direct. I don't know anything about them, but I do believe he said he had one. But then he said he had other retirement accounts too. So I'm just kind of like, well, you can self-direct them. But it's people are afraid of real estate for whatever reason. They seem to be afraid of it, even though it seems so much more stable.
I mean, I think it's just lack of education and lack of exposure, truthfully. I mean, when I've always grown up around real estate. We always had quads and 6s and 8plexes. And it was cool for me, you know, being 12, 13 years old, managing these properties. Like my dad would send me in to go collect rent. He'd send me in to go fix stuff. And so I knew that it was a possibility. I understood how we were making some money from this. But interestingly enough for me, I was like, oh man, like it's cool that we own these physical buildings, but like they're nothing but problems. Like where we were investing in, you know, it was the 3 T's, you know, termites, toilets, tenants. And we were dealing with all of that. So growing up, my perception of real estate was like, okay, like this is doable for the common man. Like immigrant parents and me are doing it. But the kind of real estate investing that we were doing, the way we had it set up, I was like, man, I don't want anything with that. So it wasn't until, you know, 25, 26 years old, I met my ex-girlfriend in Nashville, and I learned about her family, and her dad was like a big multifamily guy, and having conversations with him, right? Getting that exposure to where he helped me understand how the common person can do deals at scale. Growing up, I never knew that. And so I share that little story because, you know, unless you are not exposed or educated to how people like yourself are doing this, you don't think it's for you. And what you don't know about, you ultimately equate or associate with risk, right? People don't know that year over year, or I guess over X amount of years, real estate market has probably kept up, if not outperformed the stock market. and it's remained a lot more stable, as compared to the volatility that we see in the stock market.
Yeah.
But because, growing up, we're just shown invest your money in stocks, buy bonds, buy blah, blah, blah. Like that's all we know as investment vehicles. We don't even consider apartments, single family houses that we don't live in,
No, that's so
retail,
true. 'Cause,
commercial,
like,
whatever.
I had my first CD when I was like 5. My grandfather used to let me roll his change.
Yeah.
Because he had a big drawer and he put his change in it every day. And a couple times a year, I'd roll up all the change. And if it was, say, $75, they would add another 25 to make it 100. And we would take it to the savings and loan and deposit it into my account. And so I had my first $1,000. I was probably 5 or 6. And we put it into a CD. And the CD was getting 8.14.
Wow.
I won't forget that. That's probably why there's no more savings and loans. But that was what I was taught, was that you put your money in a CD to get a higher interest rate than it being in a savings account. So when I was in college and I had my own shave ice stand, I would take the money and put it in, 30-day CDs, because I was making $100 every 30 days on the CD that had a whole bunch of my money tied up. But I thought the only way you could do it was through CDs. Mm-hmm. And my grandparents had rentals. So I had seen them deal with them. They had a little small trailer park and it was a half a mansion that they had bought and turned it into 4 apartments. And then a few single family homes that they had. So I knew they could do it. I mean, my grandmother had to get her GED, my grandfather worked really hard for those C's. So I knew real estate could be done. And then Jason's family was like completely different. Both of his parents are college educated. They had his dad actually, he had his PhD in like museum preservation. I think that's what it's called. But he was the foremost expert in the U.S. in some of the subjects for his PhD. So he got to teach his own PhD courses.
Whoa. That's probably why he became an engineer. I don't know.
No, and so like his family, they had like all of these quads and duplexes. They have like 62 units of the residential multifamily. And so Jason came from that side of it. I came from this other mom and pop side of it.
Yeah.
And so we knew about real estate. I knew I didn't want to self-manage real estate because my grandfather was still trying to manage his own stuff when he was 70 years old.
Yeah.
After grandmother had passed away, and grandma was Mexican, so people didn't take as much advantage of her. Grandpa was a white guy from Virginia, and I feel like he got taken advantage of. And so I'm all over the place trying to find him a manager that will manage his properties so that he doesn't have to get out there and do it. Because like he would listen to the sob stories and take rent a month late or right. And my grandma was like, no.
He was a mom and pop business. He was a mom and pop community guy, so yeah, man. I mean, so much of your belief system is just a subset of, the environment that you've been raised in and what you've been shown your whole life. So people need more new programming like this, right? To even open up their minds to the idea that there is a different way to do things, potentially a more lucrative and beneficial way. Right. So
like when I think about like what we were going to talk about today, about quality content and getting more content, it's really still based in everything we've been talking about. How do you do quality content? Well, you be you. Mm-hmm. And I think that sometimes that's a little bit more difficult for me because sometimes I feel like I might be trying to say stuff because I think it's what somebody wants to hear, but at the end of the day, I really shouldn't be.
You said it perfectly earlier, Angel. I don't know if you remember it. You said, all of this is selfish. All of this is because I want to get educated. Like, I think that's the best way to approach creating content, 100%. Because what is more authentic than like you having some sort of curiosity about some sort of subject matter, right? And just deciding that like you're going to create a platform to absorb the information on that subject matter. It's like the most authentic thing out there. So I know we all get in our heads about what we're putting out there. How do we put it out there? Am I oversharing? Am I being somebody else online than what I really am? But I think when you can approach your space with just like a willingness to learn and create content that helps you learn, you're going to help somebody else inevitably along your journey. And that's where the beauty behind content creation really starts to pick up a lot of steam. You know what I'm saying?